All right, good afternoon. Just finished a press briefing in the other room. So very timely that I'll be presenting to you this afternoon. So my topic is actually pertaining to how do we now ensure governance whenever we actually consider the use of cloud. So my agenda for this afternoon is actually to walk you through what were the steps that we have undertaken in terms of how we are able to join into the use of cloud. So let's put some structure in the agenda for this afternoon. I'll walk you briefly. Let's define what's cloud computing all about, what's the information governance needed for the cloud computing, and then, of course, potential benefits of going through the cloud. Types of cloud computing services, choosing the right cloud service provider, and then doing a risk management approach whenever you're actually embarking on the cloud hosting solution. And then cloud management strategy. Of course, your cloud environment setup. Last but not the least, what are the potential benefits or the realized benefits that your organization will be able to experience whenever you actually consider the use of cloud. Okay, let me start off with the definition of terms. Okay. Let's start first with what is cloud computing all about. This is actually a term that I got, a definition that I got from Wikipedia. It's actually, let's focus on the keywords. When you say cloud computing, it's actually accessing your data and your IT compute services over a network such as cloud. So what we're saying, it's actually another medium that we are actually deploying our servers and of course our storage. This is the definition that we need to in terms of cloud. The next one we need to define would be what is information governance? Why it's really important for us to know why it's actually we need to really understand the definition and its implication. So I got the information from Gartner. Of course, Gartner is one of our leading research firms, and they are the ones actually publishing standards in terms of the different aspects in the IT industry. So what Gartner says about information governance is actually a specification of the rights and the accountability framework to be able to encourage the desirable behavior of whenever we create valuation, storage, use, archive, should be defined, enabled for an organization to achieve its goals. So what basically says is that information governance is actually an opportunity for our organization to consider some sort of a framework that you must follow in order for you to have a good governance whenever you go to the cloud. So what are the potential benefits of choosing cloud as an option for organizations that have been into the traditional way of compute resources using an on-premise data center? So one potential benefit that I can share with you this afternoon would be it actually performs some sort of a paradigm shift. When you say about paradigm shift, it actually changes the landscape of doing it traditionally via CapEx model. So wherein you actually request for a capital budget for putting up, let's say, an on-premise setup. Now, when you go to a cloud, it's actually more of a consumerism. It's actually more of an operation, expense. We call it an office model. And it actually highlights the importance of what we call pay-as-you-go or pay-per-use model instead of, you actually gain or you actually spend upfront cost whenever you go via capital model. Another benefit of going through the cloud is actually it minimizes the term called shelfware. Okay, shelfware is like similar to the shelf life, wherein every compute resource like your servers and storage would have actually what we call an estimated useful life. So you have to factor in every time you make an investment out of your servers and storage, it will definitely has to play in terms of its depreciation, and eventually you need to account for its obsolescence. So what we're saying, when you go through the cloud, you don't have to have this burden anymore. You don't have these problems anymore in terms of, factoring the requirements like depreciation and so on sense. Another benefit in the cloud is that virtualized environment. When you say virtualized environment, it's actually maximizing your resources. It's actually saying what you need is what you want. You get what you want based on what you need. Okay. This is what you call on a per demand basis. Okay. Unlike in the traditional setup, when you have an on-premise data center, you hardly maximize the use of all compute resources. You are not able to, subscribe properly to what you have actually paid for upfront. So what we're saying, if you go through the cloud, you must remember that this is actually a total different shift. You're now talking about virtualized machines instead of traditional computing for the power of the CPU, the memory, and the storage. Another benefit going to the cloud would be on-demand resource for this investment. As I've said a while ago, it's important to note that nowadays, it's no longer, the power of putting up large-scale data centers. It's now actually important to take note that you have the capability to go for time to market. You have the capability to support the business to be able to launch as soon as possible. It's very important. It's now a business call upon for IT practitioners to be able to actually stand to the management and say, we got you all covered. We can actually help you out deploy as soon as when you need it, because we now have an option to be able to offer them not on the traditional way, but actually looking at how cloud will be able to help us in terms of having the agility to be able to address the compute requirements for our business operations. It also helps us as part of the realized benefits to actually rationalize the footprint in terms of space. Because whenever you put up an on-premise data center setup, you actually utilize the space. So now you need to start looking at your own data centers and be able to evaluate and do an assessment in order to determine which of the core systems or core applications that you think that can be considered to be deployed into the cloud, so that at the end of the day, you are able to maximize your space requirements, especially if you're leasing office space in terms of your data center. So this is actually one benefit that can actually feed your organization in terms of cost reduction and achieving operational efficiency when it comes to space management of your footprint of your CDS. Standardization. I guess this is very important. Whenever you actually go and consider cloud services, this is actually a high time. This is actually a perfect opportunity for your organization to define standards. Okay? When you say standards, when you start looking at the cloud, you need to understand what you really need in terms of resources. This is the reason why you don't really need to buy so much compute resources up front, because on a cloud perspective, you can actually be able to adjust your requirements based on the business demand, based on the business operations. This is one advantage of, considering cloud as an option to your deployment services. Expand based on capacity requirements. Okay, this is one another potential realization of benefit in terms of cloud. You are able to now maximize the opportunity to expand your compute requirements without actually having to pay upfront. As I've said a while ago, gone are the days that you need to invest so much capital expenditures upfront. That's the reason why there are, several cloud service providers available in the country, in the Philippines, to be able to help us out in terms of determining how we can actually explore and actually be able to tap their services to be able for us to realize that, we can actually scale up. We can actually increase our compute requirements whenever we actually need it and when we need it. So this is the beauty of why we need to go and we need to actually consider the evaluation of cloud in terms of our solutions requirements. And then right size and mix of IT resources. Take note that I made use of the right size. No, it's not saying you need, less people. It's actually balancing it out in terms of your existing resources. It means that you need to reassess your organization, your IT organization, running your IT operations to be able to determine how many people you really need in order to run your IT operations. So I guess that's the right word to use. You need to do a right mix, a right size of the organization to be able to support whenever you are already in the cloud hosting environment. Okay, so as I shared a while ago, the benefits of going to the cloud, let's take some examples of what are the different models of cloud hosting environments or cloud hosting services. Okay, I can show you 4 different models. One would be the public open cloud. The public open cloud actually is a subscription model wherein it's fully open, fully accessible, and this is more of a consumer type of a cloud hosting solution. Okay, so this is typically applicable for applications or systems that are not really sensitive in terms of data. This is where you actually make use of your public cloud access. The second one would be a community cloud services. This actually has a limited access based on some certain type of membership or some certain type of subscription. And then the third one would be what we call the virtual private cloud service. This is actually a VPC, they call it VPC. This is actually an open access, but it has a limited sharing of environment. And then the last but not the least would be your private cloud access. This is actually makes sense for your mission critical applications, like ERP systems, your CRMs, okay, and your core systems like billing, especially for telco and provisioning systems. So typically mission critical systems would normally be deployed through a private cloud type of hosting service. Okay, whenever you go into a cloud environment, you need to do some risk management. This is part of the journey that every company has to undertake. Okay, you need to first perform due diligence. When you say due diligence, you need to evaluate, you need to research, you need to learn more about who are the credible, who are the leaders in terms of cloud hosting services. You need to also factor in data security and management. This morning session, there were a lot of discussions, there were a lot of clarifications about security aspect and of course data privacy. Very important that whenever you go into considering cloud hosting environment is to make sure that data is secured and of course you need to make sure that you are compliant with the Data Privacy Act as well. Identity and access management. Okay. Again, this morning session emphasized the importance of making sure that there is the right setup of access, there is the right setup of authorization, whoever gets to access your cloud environment. This is very important as part of the security setup. Okay. As mentioned by one of the speakers this morning, in as much as we invest in the most expensive security tool or tools that matter, okay, you need to make sure that the internal access is definitely well secured and well monitored because the threats are not only coming in from external, but you have to really focus also the threats are coming from the internal. So that's actually the essence of making sure that whenever you go to the cloud, you don't forget about securing your internal aspect as well. Resiliency and business continuity, very important matter. I guess this is one advantage also, how why cloud computing is actually nowadays being again a topic that is being pushed by the industry because we have to be prepared. In a business need, you need to have a business continuity plan. You need to make sure that you're compliant with your disaster recovery procedures. So for you to be able to have that capability, you need to make sure that you evaluate your partner, your cloud partner, to be able to have this kind of business continuity at all times. Another important aspect as part of risk management is the subscription contract to be reviewed by legal. Okay. Very important that you onboard your legal team whenever you are actually embarking on the cloud environment, because your legal team will be able to help you out understand the contract details or the subscription details that you're actually working on, and that's the essence of you need to make sure that there's a proper authority to be able to help you out understand the fine print of actually subscribing to the cloud environment. Infrastructure and security setup. It's a good thing that you actually do a data center site visit if possible. So this is part of your background check whenever you actually evaluate your partners for your cloud environment. You do a site visit to be able to understand better their facilities, their physical security aspect, of course their infrastructure security setup as well. So those are the two things that are very important to take note: physical security and of course your infrastructure setup of your partners. Auditability. This is actually pertains to the enablement of organizations to actually be allowed to audit their cloud partner in terms of their hosting capability. It can be actually initiated internally, or you can actually outsource the auditing requirements by a third party. So make sure that before you sign up into a cloud agreement, you need to clarify with your partner that they're open for audits, so that at the end of the day, any breach in terms of security or data privacy, they are actually well accountable. They're actually responsible in terms of those incidents. Regulatory compliance. We've heard about this morning about the chairman Monty Board discussing about DTA 2012. So this is actually one compliance, not just the ISO certification, but the regulatory requirements that your cloud partner should be actually complying with. So whenever you evaluate your cloud partners, make sure that regulatory compliance are actually given and are needed as well. SMA tool, you need to do this as part of your technical evaluation of commercial cloud. So you need to do some decisional analysis, you need to do some potential problem analysis, situation appraisal, and risk analysis. So this actually helps you out to present to your management whatever details that you need to highlight as far as who can be your potential partner in terms of cloud service requirements. Alright, what are the key considerations in choosing the right cloud provider? Okay, again, as I said a while ago, there are a lot of players in the industry, both international and local. So what we need to do is, these are the steps that you have to undertake to be able to choose the right cloud service provider. The first one is you need to do a proven track record in terms of large volume scale of deployment. So you need to ask for customer references. That's very important. If you can do call-outs, if you can do interviews, if you can actually visit these customer references, so that you'll be able to research on how these cloud providers are able to perform their services, then that will be a better off in terms of their cloud hosting environments. Enforcement of data retention period. Again, as part of regulatory compliance, especially those in a particular industry, like in the retail, we are actually required to have at least a 5-year data retention policy by BIR. So, and of course PTI. So we need to make sure that your partner, the data that's being stored in the cloud, will be able to comply with these regulatory requirements. Preservation policy of backup. Okay, we're talking about two kinds of backup here. One would be your online data backup, and the other one would be your business continuity type of backup, which means it has to be replicated in another data center. So it's an on-site and off-site backup capability of the partner. Capability to execute content lifecycle and management strategies. This is actually a process that you need to ask your cloud partner to be able to make sure that they are complying with certain standards in terms of doing the end-to-end process in terms of cloud hosting services. Portability of information, again, it pertains to the data that is being stored in the cloud. This is in preparation for your business continuity and disaster recovery. And make sure that this is part of the contract that will be signed with them as part of the service that will be rendering in terms of the cloud hosting solution. Of course, I mentioned adherence to standards. These are well-known and certification that you need to actually ask from your cloud service providers. Periodic audit reviews. I mentioned this a while ago. Very important that you actually do an agreed audits so that you can actually make sure that they comply with all of your requirements. And then annual review of cloud providers, policies and procedures. And then third-party certification, of course. And then deep understanding of the various compliance obligations as required by regulatory. Okay. Just quickly, I'd like to show, although these are not in the slides, quick reference on what the key aspects in terms of evaluating your cloud partners. So you need to look at their capability in terms of their VM environments. You need to look at their SLA, their service level agreements. You need to look at their certifications. Okay, what are the operating systems they support? Of course, if they are local or they have international hosting capabilities, what countries that they are present into. Of course, this will not be applicable for the local players. You also need to look at their core services like compute, network, and storage, which is definitely your requirements. And then what database that they actually support, very important. And then what are the other services that they offer in terms of making your environment secure. And then who are the customers that they are actually offering the services. And last but not the least, what are their compliance in terms of their regulatory needs. So these are the key things that you need to ask for your cloud service providers whenever you're actually evaluating them for your compute requirements. Cloud management strategy, quickly, just to summarize the discussion for this afternoon. You need to do due diligence, very important. The right information, the right cloud partner. It makes sense for the organization to be able to access and be able to have that data capability on a 24/7 basis. The next one would be vendor management. This is more of the relationship and governance building. And then again, auditability, as I mentioned a while ago, make sure that you protect your interests in terms of having your data hosted in the cloud. Security, information security. And this is actually to ensure you protect, you monitor, and be able to report any compliance requirements in terms of by the cloud provider. And then, of course, the regulatory compliance. Last but not least, business continuity. Okay. All right, just to recap the benefits that will be realized in a summary form, you eliminate the upfront costs. Again, from CAPEX to OPEX model. Improve process automation and standardization, and then reduce the size and complexity of your on-premise data center. And then ability for the business transformation, the digital transformation initiatives, such as mobility or your mobile apps, your website. And then expand the IT infrastructure capabilities without having too much capital expenditure. And without actually resulting into additional resources, headcount. And then improve availability, business continuity plan, and compliance for any disaster recovery requirement. And last but not least, there's a need to actually reduce costs while you're actually achieving and more operational efficient and actually effective type of setup in terms of your infrastructure, your storage, your servers, and even your backup operation. So I guess the big question now, are you ready to embrace cloud? I will leave that question to you based on the presentation that I've done this afternoon, and the message that we would like to share as part of the CSA for the Philippines is that we really need to evaluate cloud as a service so that we can have the capability to become agile, to become capable of shifting our cost model from CapEx to OpEx. And last but not least, we need to make sure that we are secure and we need to make sure that we are compliant with data privacy. Thank you.